Hello, I've got a great one for you today. Today we're going to be taking a look at another ThermalRight fan. It's the TL-E12B Extrem. That's how I'm pronouncing it. It could be Extrem, but Extreme sounds cooler, so that's what we're going to go with. So first, how does it a little bit compare? This fan is looking at being one of the next value kings in my testing, which is pretty awesome. For latest ranking information, I do recommend you take a look at one of my best of videos. It's probably the December 2024, I hope. Hopefully I get this out before August. Anyways, this is how it ranked in each of the different three main areas of my testing. Let's get into it. First, a little bit of spec information. It's a dual ball bearing, it's amperage, the RPM, maximum air flow, static pressure, and noise level.
Before we get into the data, I would like to thank Mint Mobile for being today's video partner. Thanks to Mint Mobile's wireless plans, it is possible to not only switch away from big, expensive mobile companies, but also to have a quality, affordable plan for me and my family. Mint Mobile's premium wireless plans start at just $15 a month for a 3-month plan. For that, I can get high-speed data and unlimited talk and text on the nation's largest 5G network. I can bring my own phone and keep my current phone number, so you don't need to memorize a new phone number, something I have always found difficult. Switching to Mint is super easy. Thanks to digital eSIM cards, which most phones have, you can sign up and activate immediately right from your own phone, from the comfort of your own home. If by any chance your phone doesn't have an eSIM card, Mint will ship you a new SIM card free of charge. And right now, for new customers, Mint Mobile is offering 50% off their 12-month unlimited plan. It's the best deal of the year, but it's only available for a limited time. If you're interested in learning more about Mint Mobile and switching, visit my link up above or the link in the video description down below.
And the first test is the case simulation test, and I took it at 4 key measurement locations, each representing slightly different things. The first note here is this is assuming that you've got an air-cooled CPU in a front-to-back airflow design, meaning nothing's in the way between the front fan and the CPU socket. The other way to look at that 6-inch mark is you put fans in the bottom of your computer case, and you're blowing the air straight up into your GPU. Next, we have the 9-inch mark. This would be compact towers or like media center type builds that have a front-to-back airflow type design. 220mm class fans. It would be able to fit a standard ATX motherboard, but not a lot of extra room out in front of it. Should just be a very compact build. Then we have 320mm class fans at the 11-inch mark. This would be your standard mid-tower cases. And the very last data point over here is the 14.5-inch mark. This would be your truly large towers, something like the Fractal Design Torrent, holding 340mm class fans. We need something to compare this fan against, and I have a control fan, which is based 3 parts A12X25 to 1 part A14. And it's doing really quite well. It's outperforming my teal control fan quite handily. The TL-S12 is outperforming it except for at bigger cases. So, I mean, that's performing really, really quite well. At 100% pitot fan signal, at smaller computer cases, it outperforms the rest of these ThermalRight fans that I decided to list on this graph. By the time you hit to bigger ones, it's still outperforming them. Well, the TL-S12 kind of falls back quite a ways. So how does it compare against other fans? It's well towards the top. At the 11-inch mark, not quite at the top. There are other fans that are better than it, but it's doing really, really well. It's impressive. At 100%, upper middle. Just plain and simple. Upper middle. Given its RPM, it's doing just fine. The 11-inch mark is still a little bit of a weak spot for it for whatever reason in the testing. But all of them are pretty close, and I call it just fine. At that noise result, 9-inch mark, for meters per second airspeed versus the decibel rating, upper middle, outperforming a lot of other fans. The TL-S12W is one of the only ones that does better than it, but this one has a much higher maximum RPM and thus gives it a higher maximum performance, which you might need if you're running a little bit hotter CPU. So it gives you a little bit more flexibility than the TL-S12 provides.
I'm not sure how well it picks up on camera, but I hear a ticking sound coming out of the fan. So I think it's the motor. I may have just gotten a bad sample. Unfortunately, I only have one to test.
Now in performance through my CPU air cooler. At this time, I'd also like to stop and thank my YouTube and Patreon members. Thanks to your support, I was able to fairly recently purchase a radiator. Unfortunately, I don't have a test system to get thermal data yet, but I'm starting to generate airspeed going through it. And so far, the data is indicating that the airspeed through the radiator and through my air cooler of choice, the U12A, are near on equivalent. That isn't to say that the thermal capability is the same. It's just the resistance to airflow is nearly the same. So I can call them equivalent at this time. If you're looking at ways to support this channel, becoming a YouTube member, Patreon, or sending me a super is the easy way to do it. All that money is going directly into funding a couple test systems to start generating thermal data. As a one-man army reviewer, it's just limitations that I have. Back to the regularly scheduled program. So the first graph here on the left side is airspeed versus RPM. It's a blade efficiency graph, and the E12B is a very efficient blade design, outperforming my control fan quite handily. When we take a look at the airspeed versus a decibel rating, it once again is lining up very closely to my control fan, indicating that is pretty noise efficient overall, which is again great to see that it's beating or tying my baseline. How does it compare against other fans? Well, I mean, it's middle of the pack. Middle of the pack. And that's a pretty good place to be. It's not too far off the TL-S12. I mean, look, all these are like 1.3, and they would have some small decimal point off to the side. They're equivalent. At 100% PWM fan signal, upper middle part, 2.2 meters per second, quite well in line with other higher performing fans, but not quite the ultra top tier ones. So it would be perfectly sufficient for most users. Like the A12X5 performs a little worse than it. Mine, the A12X5 is quieter. So if you heard about people running A12X5s, you'd be just fine with the E12B because it performs better. It's just about that noise part that you may want to think about. So with regard to that noise, we got meters per second versus decibels. And middle of the pack. Middle of the pack. It must have this efficiency thing right here at the end because it didn't get too much noisier while giving me a nice jump in performance. But other than that, it's sitting right in line. It's a pretty darn good performing fan. Now we got the CFM testing. CFM testing is very, very simple. You got a fan, you got a tube, you blow air down the tube. It negates the fact that a lot of fans tend to blow air off to the sides by, well, putting in the tube, and it focuses the airflow for you. So as such, we'd expect fans' blade efficiency to be very, very similar in this test, and that is exactly what we see. Where they're going to differentiate each other is in their noise performance. And here is where the TL-E12B falls away from the control fan. It is just a little bit noisier than it. Compared to other fans in noise normalized results, it is in the upper part of the graph, I would say, so it's outperforming quite a few other fans. When we take a look at it at 100% PW fan signal, middle. It's right in line with like the TL-B12, TL-K12. They all have very similar RPMs. Even the A12X5 sits very close to it. So it just kind of makes sense. And the main thing you need to look at is how noisy it is to determine whether or not it meets your criteria. So now we have CFM versus decibel rating compared with other fans. Upper middle. It's doing really quite well. There are other fans that do perform significantly better than in this sub-sample selection. But overall, I'd say it's right in line with the main grouping of fans. Again, that means it's basically average and perfectly okay. There's nothing wrong with that. Now we're into value proposition. As a note, value proposition is not performance. It is performance per dollar. A fan that is absolutely terrible performance, but if it's cheap enough, it's going to look really good on this graph. Another note is newer versions of this graph I do have organized differently, so it goes from best ranked to worst ranked, while this was kind of whatever order it loaded into the graph. So this is just a little bit of an older format video. $6 fan, and you can see that it's at the 6-inch mark, it's like second place. TLC12C, which was a triple pack if I'm not mistaken, beats it out. But this was one fan. If ThermalRight created a triple pack of this and saved you like $2 per fan, it would be ranked to number one so easily. At 100%, it's the winner. 11-inch mark, well, once again, second place. And at 100% PWM fan signal, second place. Really, really good value. CFM testing, it wins. It is the best value fan. The TL-S12W isn't far behind it, neither is the TL-G12, but this fan just blows them all out of the water. It's a great result. At 100%, no contest. Through the CPU air cooler, second place in noise normalized, and second place in 100% PWM fan signal. It's kicking butt. Like, it's one of the best value fans that I've ever tested, and at time of this chart's creation, it is almost the best value, and might be actually the best value across the board on average for all the different tests. So, may not be a bad choice. And that brings us to the end of the video. This is raw data. The raw data does belong to me and this channel. If you want to use it for your own personal use, you may go ahead and do so. Anything else, I do ask that you get my permission. If you like what this channel is doing, like the general idea of it, and looking for ways to help support it to make it at least break even, think about joining me as a Patreon or as a YouTube member. Every penny of that does go into getting me to the next level, which is, well, I need some more testing equipment. But the next thing that I plan on getting is a dedicated system to do testing with for this channel. I realistically need two, one for air cooling in a case simulation test, and to get thermal data for that, and then one for like a heatsink radiator or something like that to get some thermal data for hot testing, basically. Throwing supers, again, that goes a long way. The higher two tiers of my Patreon and YouTube memberships now have access to my raw data as it is. What else? If you have fans that you'd like me to take a look at, please leave in the comment section below. It takes me quite a while to get through fans and test stuff because I'm at kind of a one a week type scheduling, since it takes quite a lot of time. It takes around 2 weeks for me to do the full data test analysis. I can crank it in a week, but then I have like no life. Anyways, what was I saying? Don't remember. Anyways, thank you very much for watching. Have a great day. Thank you for joining me here on Computer Tech and More, and I hope to see you next time.